Hi everyone, this is a tutorial on how to change a steam pump on a Sunbeam EM6910 coffee machine. Now I haven't done it before, I'm certainly not a coffee dude, so I'm just a handyman who likes to have a go, and anyone that's half handy I think will be able to do this. First thing you have to do is figure out what's wrong with it. That's pretty easy. The steam stops working. Also, there is some water underneath in this area, a small pool every time you use it when it is working. So it slowly but surely fails. There is another way to tell that it doesn't work, and I'll show you that in just 1 second. First, you basically take it apart. Take off all your bits and pieces, the simple bits and pieces. Okay, now I'll show you how to get the back off in just 1 second. Okay, on the back of these there's a door. It just swivels open, and there's actually a screw just on the very bottom there. Just on the bottom there. Unscrew that screw and the top just has a pin. It just slips out and comes off. Really simple. Put that to one side. Then this panel here comes off. There's two screws underneath, and there's two locating dowels in the top. Also, up in here, in this hole here, there also is another screw, and you will have to use a Torx screwdriver. This is the screw. It's quite long, and the size Torx you will need is a T15. So if you have a T15 Torx, that's going to get this screw out here, so don't pry and pull, you'll damage something. So once you take those two out, this panel lifts out. Slide down the dowels. And out she comes. From that point, you need to take this plastic section out. Now I've already taken the screws out, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws just into plastic, and that just lifts out also. Okay, it looks like a bit of a head spin in there, but it's pretty simple. This is our steam pump, and also, as you can see, it's rusty and crusty. Rusty and crusty here and here. I was always taught 90% of most problems are visual. So let's not worry about being a coffee expert. Let's replace this. And it was leaking down through here onto the bench. So let me get organised and we'll pull this out. Lie the machine on its front. You'll see in through here there's a pot rivet. Now pot rivets can only be removed by getting drilled out. They need to be drilled out. One there, one there. There's also a zip tie on this hose. Cut that off carefully. And then there's a nut on the very end here that has to be unscrewed. Be careful not to damage this pipe here, which is part of your pressure gauge. And also on the very bottom of the actual steam pump there's another hose, but we'll pull that off once we slide it out. Just to give you an example of what you get when you buy a new one, this is exactly it. They're just rubberized brackets. Now I think we'll be able to leave that one in, and we'll just swap these two over. So bear with me and we'll get that done. Okay, now the rivets are drilled out. I would suggest you run a vacuum cleaner. While you're doing that, it just takes out any swarf that may end up inside the machine. Now we'll just have a look here. Yep, that's loose. Okay, I'll go ahead and undo the rest of these devices now. Okay, now I've just cut it's a tiny little zip tie off that pipe. Now, as with anything, gentle as you can without breaking anything. Okay, that pipe's off. Just tuck it out of the way for now. Okay, as you can see, there's a brass nut. It looks like it's 14mm metric, and yeah, it's not very tight, which is good. Okay, what I'm going to have to do, because I don't have a tripod, I'm going to undo that back in 1 second. Okay. Now I would suggest that you unscrew this assembly completely. Give you a bit of room. Now that little nut there is that one I've just unscrewed. It's metric 12mm, and this one is the 14. Righto. Alrighty, I'll just unplug a few things and I'll pull it out. Okay, sorry I couldn't show you that. It's I just couldn't hold the video camera in one hand and do it with one hand. Make sure also electricals. First thing I should have told you: unplug the machine. Make sure it's not plugged in. Always make sure you put the electricals back on exactly where they went, exactly where the terminals went. Make sure the new one goes back on there. So I pulled the electrical terminals off. There's the pipe on the bottom. And there's a little pipe just inside there, which we'll plug back on. It just goes back through this base. So basically, when you do the reverse of what we just did, that's a little brass and copper pipe that came off that pressure cylinder. So as I said, just take it easy. It's quite tight. Don't break this. Apparently a fair few people break this when they pull them apart. Just go nice and steady and nice and slow, and it should be fine. I'll get back to you in a sec. Okay, reattach this section, just finger tight. You can see the two pumps together. Clearly this one's not well. Comes with this new bracket, so we might as well use it. The other one I'm going to leave in there. Now it's just a matter of putting that bottom pipe on first, which is that one on the end. Do not forget to put a new zip tie on the bottom. Cut something off, put something back, always. So I'll go ahead and just reinstall that loosely now. Once you've got the pump in, just make sure you do not forget to put one of these zip ties on the bottom. There's a pipe on the bottom. Slide it on. Now this new rubberized bracket, I'm not going to use pot rivets. Not everyone's got a pot rivet gun, so what I'm going to use is some screws. Look, just pop a screw back in there. Something like that's going to be fine. These are just finger tight, same as this one, just to locate it, just to make sure it's all sitting right. I'll go ahead and pop a screw in there. If you're not competent with a drill or a driver drill, just use an old-fashioned screwdriver. They don't have to be that tight, it's a rubberized bracket. Just make sure that they're firm. Now the whole thing's mounted in there correctly. So now what we have to do is do not forget to tighten this and this. Don't forget our pipe that goes back on here. And do not forget to connect up the electrical connectors. Now being that you have a video, you'll be able to see where they were. I know where they were. Red was at the top. So I'll grab a pair of pliers and pop those back on. I'll tighten these up right now. Now don't forget, when you're tightening these up, that's plastic. Just be very careful. Take notice of when you undo it how tight it was and just nip it up nicely. They've got seals on them. I don't think you'll have any troubles with them leaking. Just make sure you do that. Okay. This pipe. Gonna go back on there like a good boy. Righto. And don't forget, zip tie back on. Righto, zip ties on. Okay, just a quick run through. Electrical's back on. Bottom small pipe on. With zip tie. 2 new screws. Brackets on. Pipes tight, main hose with a zip tie back on. Just make sure, if you've got an air compressor or a vacuum cleaner, just make sure you give that a bit of a vacuum or a blowout to make sure there's no problems in there. There is another pump on these just here that fails. Very similar to replace as this, so there's not much to them. And you can also buy electrical boards as spares as well. Look, it's cost me about $80. That's Australian dollars for the steam pump. All the parts are available. eBay, online, anywhere you like. $400 or $500 coffee machine is going to be rescued. So reverse, just put it back together the way I showed you to pull it apart, and good luck. Hope this helps somebody out. Thanks for watching. Feel free to comment and like my video.